This programme is brought to you in association with ABS Motorsport. From Silverstone, we arrive at Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire for the third event of the 2022 Focus Cup Championship. The championship standings as we arrive here look like this. Liam McGill in charge from Scott Parkin and Simon Rudd. Richard Davis is fourth from Simon Watts, and the man sixth in the championship, Callum Eason, is down in the paddock with Lloyd.
Callum, interesting start to the weekend for you. You appear to have redesigned the rear bodywork of your Focus.
Yeah, I mean, we exited turn one. The car felt decent, turned into the right hander, must have lifted. Well, I did lift and the car come sideways and then got onto the wet grass and there was no stopping it.
But doesn't appear to have affected your performance too much in qualifying?
No, I mean, we qualified P7. I did that without a tow and then just tried to find a tow. Everyone was bailing out or coming in, and then got onto my fastest lap, set the lap up really well. See the times clicking up, and then just exited to go onto the back straight, and I missed a gear. It popped out of fifth, so I dropped 2/10. So we should have jumped up a couple more positions, but we'll take that.
Callum, thank you for taking some time out to speak to us. Now, you've come all the way from Melbourne here to Cadwell Park to do some racing with your dad, Ewan. Talk us a little bit through why you're here.
Well, we were having a look at what we could do while we're over in Europe, because I'm on a gap year at the moment, and we were having a look at different racing categories, because we're really big on racing in Australia, and we're having a look at what might be the most fair for an arrive and drive thing. And the Focus Cup seems to be a really fair and even category. And then Cadwell Park, it's a track I've always loved. It's like a roller coaster out there.
Brilliant. And you'd say you're touring around Europe at the moment. Why? Well, I mean, a gap year, but why not?
We're motor racing fans. We're Top Gear fans. We bought a Mini to drive around, and we're actually going to buy a Mini each. That was the plan. Then they turned out to be too expensive, so we just bought one. But we're just driving. We're driving around doing the Top Gear thing. We found a good place to do these guys are amazing. They set up the car beautifully. I recommend this to anyone who wants to do it. It's just fantastic. Cal's driven everything. He's driven drift cars, speedway, circuit racing, go-karts, and it's just another car that he drives, and he's put himself in P5, which is fantastic.
Simon, great to see you here at Cadwell Park. It's a great track to be racing at, isn't it?
It is a wonderful track, yeah. I mean, it's, and like I say, Silverstone, but it's two big straights, and this is corners everywhere. There isn't really anything where you're not thinking. There's no real straights to think of when you're not planning the next corner. So yeah, it's an exciting track. We're always working with the car.
And especially with the Focus Cup cars, it's very close racing, and it's all about the precision through the corners to get those times. And really, I guess in the racing, you're going to be trying to put people under pressure to make a mistake.
Absolutely, and hopefully people behind not doing that to me. But yeah, it's getting onto the onto park and onto the start-finish straight. If you get on there well, you've got whole seconds to be made up there. It's yeah, and just keeping your nerve on some of the very fast corners going up the hill. Yeah, and I think that's my plan. I'm in the middle of the pack, so I need to make sure I get away well, put pressure on, and keep tabs on the guys at the front.
Simon Waugh 8th on the grid, ahead of him on pole Liam McGill from Simon Rudd and Scott Parkin, Mark Geraghty 4th from Callum Potter and Ian Bonter, and then Callum East. Simon Waugh 8th, 9th is Greg Saunders with Claire Avis in 10th, 11th Sean Reynolds from Simon Walton, Richard Avis, Jonathan Baker and Abby Walton. Change of car as we go in car with Abby Walton, because Richard Davis is in one of the red cars there. Changes over from car 77 to 25. More of that anon, because the lights are already on here at Cadwell Park for round 5 of the championship. As you look at the screen on the right, it's Liam McGill on pole position. It's a left-handed corner, the first one, hence the run down into Coppice Corner, and it's McGill that leads from Simon Rudd in the GRD Lifson Engineering car in second position. Scott Parkin is in third. Richard Davis trying to make up a little bit of ground. I think he might have had problems in qualifying, hence the change of car, which the organisers, of course, can facilitate in this Arrive and Drive Championship. Callum Easton going a little bit wide there, picking up some dirt. There is Greg Saunders in the number 81. Ian Bonthram putting Callum Easton under pressure here as they go along Park Straight into Park Corner for the first time. That will see ground into Chris Curve and then downhill into the gooseneck here at Cadwell Park. It's 2.173 mile circuit. Callum Potter looking at his namesake Callum Easton. Callum Potter, who's raced extensively before coming on this tour with his dad. Lovely interview, and great to welcome them to the UK and to this championship. Scott Parkin looking a little bit ragged there in front, trying to close up on Simon Rudd in second place. Now on board was from Mark Geraghty. There is Mark, the 2017 Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup champion a few years ago now. She won't thank me for reminding him of. I think he was newcomers champion that year as well. Potter putting Bonthron under pressure. Eason is in the mix as well. Simon Waugh in the 22 right behind them, and Ian Bonthron as they go up the hill there, up the mountain. Just seeing the back end getting a bit squirrely, and that is very good news indeed for Callum Potter, who qualified in 5th place. Good performance in qualifying, first time in these cars for Callum Potter. We'll see what he can do on his debut meeting. So Bonthron from Potter. Callum Easton looking racy as well. Takes a nice wide sweep along the straight and through the left-hander at Coppice, trying to put the pressure on these two in front. Potter probably in the difficult position, having to keep an eye on the mirror as well as look in front of him. That trio goes through. Simon Waugh is following. Richard Davis still chasing Claire. The Sussex pairing enjoying their racing as ever. This, incidentally, the first of 3 races this weekend. Simon Walton is in behind in the number 9 car. Nice to see Simon back with us. Haven't seen him since in car since Donington Park. Had a 10th and a 12th at Donington. And Simon, incidentally, the lap record holder here at Cadwell Park, so could be in the mix to grab another fastest lap today. The lap record, incidentally, 1:48.153, as Callum Easton has a wild moment. Qualifying pole position, Liam McGill's time, 1:48.836. So I think we're going to see a new lap record today. Whether we'll see that improved or not, traditionally these cars tend to work best in race 1. The drivers tend to take the best out of them in the earlier races in the meeting, normally double headers, but this is a triple header this weekend. So a real treat for us. Moving the championship on. The championship, as we saw at the start of the programme, led by Liam McGill by 18 points from Scott Parkin. Here is Callum Potter, still putting the pressure on Ian Bonthram as they come through Barn Corner. Then it's downhill past the control tower, which we'll see, or maybe won't see, on the inside of the track. You can see the pit lane entrance there. And Bonthram under big pressure here, so the young Aussie is getting to grips not only with the car but also the circuit as well, because the youngsters soak up the information. So it's the Aussie chasing the Scot at the moment. Ian Bonthram will be looking in his mirrors. They've lost a little bit of ground on Mark Geraghty. Wonderful shot of the youngster concentrating there as they go through Charlie's and onto Park Straight once again. The ABS car running a little bit wider, sticking to the outside of the track. And here comes Callum Potter getting momentum. He's going to have a look on the inside, and Ian Bonthram leaves him room, and Callum Potter is through. Lovely move by Callum Potter, makes the move through and passes Ian Bonthram, gets the position back, I think, when she lost off the grid, to be fair. The Rob Sims racing car is in front of us, and Ian Bonthram now will try and get back. So the Scot now chasing the Aussie. This is for 5th position, incidentally. There is Mark Geraghty running in 4th. It's still McGill, Rudd and Parkin 1, 2 and 3. 4, 5, 6 and 7 all together at the moment. The Aussie ran a little bit wide there, Callum Potter. Comes out of Mansfield, past the hairpin part of the circuit, and now climbing up the mountain. I hope we get to see an onboard of the climb up the mountain, because the camera from the trackside camera doesn't really do the climb justice. We obviously see with the racing as well, but it's a fair old climb. As Jonathan Baker not looking happy at all. Jonathan qualifying 14th today in the number 10 car, which clearly wasn't happy in qualifying. Jonathan's previous qualifying this year, 6th and 4th place. So Jonathan Baker losing out. I think he's going to be our first retiree of the event here, but he's got another couple of races where hopefully we'll see him back on the grid. We've got enough work to do from the back of the field, as Potter now closing in on Mark Geraghty and going for another place. I think Geraghty's got a problem, because he goes very wide indeed. Indeed, he has got a problem. Bonthron goes through as well. Watch for Callum Eason to go through. There is Eason, slices through, and Mark Geraghty is going to be another non-finish. We've got Jonathan Baker out, and I think we're going to see Mark Geraghty into retirement as well with that. Ian Bonthron will still close on. So this is now Callum Potter in 4th place, Bonthron 5th, then 6th position is Callum Eason, and still McGill, Rudd and Parkin 1, 2, 3. Liam McGill, the championship leader, who incidentally I don't think has seeded a fastest lap so far this year, and he's on for fastest lap in this one as well. Potentially a new lap record. I love the way the young Aussie has got that car by the scruff of its neck. He really is throwing it around. Now that's Simon Walton touring at the moment. You can see the cars that he's following a little way ahead, and this is what happens. So comes along the main straight, heading into Coppice, grabs a bit of curve, throws him wide onto the grass, and boy, I don't know if you could hear that, but you get punished by the bumps on the grass there. Simon just looking across to see if anyone is coming so that he can rejoin the circuit safely. Struggling around, and having done so for around about a third of the lap, is Mark Geraghty, who parks up. The prize drive car, I think, relatively safe there. I'm not sure we'll see a stoppage. There will be yellow flags there. Ian Bonthron working hard, and we'll have more for you from Cadwell after the break. Welcome back to Cadwell Park. Callum Eason has dropped back. He's trying to get in front here of Claire Avis. Little bit of a rub on the back end. Callum loses a bit of momentum as a result of that, and Richard Avis is going through, makes it past, but has he got the line? He has on this curve, slight left-handed curve, which will open up into the right-hander at Park Corner, which is where Callum is now, and will go back in the place, but Richard Avis hanging on the outside, has to go on the dirt, comes back across again, a little bit of a rub with Callum, who's going to, I think, consolidate the place. Here we are in car with Richard. So now look how much ground has been made through that, just that little bit of racing for Claire Avis, who's got away from these two. Richard chasing his misses in the early stages of the race. Callum having dropped back from the battle for 4th position, now climbing towards the mountain. Are we going to stay on long enough to have a look at the mountain? Possibly not. Back to our outfield camera. So the WD e-motorsport car being chased by the Mintex machine, coming through into Hall Bends and then up towards the old hairpin. The race leader though heading up towards his last lap, Liam McGill, and I'll tell you what, he's just set the fastest lap again, 1:46.828, new lap record for Liam McGill, who is out on his own. Ahead at the moment is Clear Circuit, behind him is Clear Track as well, 6 seconds to the good over Simon Rudd in P2. Simon ahead of Scott Parkin, so those two disputing second in the championship at the moment. So Simon Rudd will close the gap on Scott Parkin in this one, but an untroubled run for Liam McGill, who got away perfectly from pole position in the AST car, and this is going to make it 3 wins on the trot. Opened his campaign with second at 4th at Donington, 2 wins at Silverstone. It's going to be another win here at Cadwell Park, and at the moment, if things stay the way they are, a 5th fastest lap of the season for the Scotsman. Down through Mansfield, little bit of traffic coming up as well. I think that might be Abby Walton in the 94. So McGill heading up the mountain for the last time. It's a great climb. It's a super place to watch motor racing if you ever do come over to Cadwell Park. A terrific circuit, one of Jonathan Palmer's MSV tracks, which means that everything is clean, tidy, very well maintained, and above all, a great racetrack. In car with McGill, so closing up into Barn Corner for the last time. Still chasing, he's got a good lead, but he's still chasing a better lap. Remember, someone else could depose him and get the 5 points for fastest lap. But McGill now heading downhill towards the checkered flag, which is being ready. He's going to pass Abby Walton. There's the checker, and it is another win for Liam McGill, who takes it. Simon Rudd is in second position. This is Scott Parkin, who runs in third. Simon Rudd ahead of him, Scott Parkin third. Callum Potter is going to come through for fourth position. Simon Waugh is there ahead of Claire Avis, with Callum Easton in the mix as well. Ahead of them is the 76 being Bonthron out of shot at the moment. Ian running in fifth position. So this is the group of cars racing for six, and Simon Waugh here is going to get sixth place. I think it's going to be the best finish of the season so far. It was retirement in 17th for him last time. There is the checker. So our first of three races complete here at Cadwell Park, and I win number 3 of the season for the championship leader Liam McGill. Effectively, remember, pole position is akin to a race win as well for points. So it's McGill from Rudd, Parkin in third, Callum Potter fourth on his debut from Ian Bonthron and Simon Waugh. Claire Avis in seventh from Callum Easton, Richard Avis, Sean Reynolds, Greg Saunders and Simon Walton.
Liam, great race out there. You just walked away with it, really.
Yeah, it was a very, very good race. I had a slide on like lap 3, a big slide. So I had to kind of rein it back a little bit after that. But no, it was good fun. It's a good track. Very, very difficult track actually to race on. So I'm sweating.
Simon, hard fought second place, but really, Liam just went away with it.
Yeah, he ran away with it. My only chance, I think, realistically, was to try and make a move on the first lap, but by turn 2 or 3, he'd already pulled a gap, so it made it impossible to have a go. But yeah, second place, I think that's realistically the best we was going to hope for.
Now, second race, reverse grid, so Liam's going to be behind you. It's a tight track here. Do you think you can keep him behind you for the race?
I'm going to give it a go, and we'll see what we can do. I think, obviously, I want to go forward. I want to win the next race. I think it's going to be difficult either way, whether the track's thin or wide. So, we'll try our best, but we'll give it a good go.
Callum, congratulations on winning the AM Trophy in your first race here at Cadwell Park.
Thank you very much.
And I guess it wasn't something you were expecting to come away with after your trip over from Melbourne?
No, definitely not something I was planning on getting or anything. I actually ended up dropping a gear at the start and went back to 7th at the start, so big surprise.
And really just a hard-fought race. Now, reverse grids for the next race, so you're going to have some quick guys behind you. Are you going to try and keep them behind, or do you just want to get out of their way and not interrupt the championship too much?
I guess I'll see what happens. If they're that much quicker, I'll let them through, follow them, maybe even catch up to them. We'll see what happens. I've got no idea what next race holds.
Tony, it's great to see ABS Motorsport sponsoring this round of the Focus Cup here at Cadwell Park. Talk to us a little bit about the involvement in the series and why it's important.
Okay, so we've been involved since the start of the championship. Simon asked us if we could do the focuses. We currently had, at the time, the Focus BTCC Aero kit, so we've adapted them for the Focus Cup. We did Simon's Audi TTs at the time, and obviously we're heavily involved in the British Touring Car Championship, so it made perfect sense to come on board, get involved, and the championship's really growing. It's really good to see, and obviously Cadwell is our local circuit.
It's great to see so many drivers here this weekend at Cadwell, and as you say, with it being a one-make championship as well, it keeps racing very tight, very close, particularly with it all being a spec series. Is that something that's important that you think with throughout motor racing?
I think it's fantastic with the same spec of the cars. It gives close racing throughout. It gives not only a starter to people getting to motorsport, but obviously you've got people who are in the second and third seasons of it. So clearly it's working. Clearly the championship's good. They involve a lot of development into the cars, and obviously we've developed different panels and we're going through it really well. So yeah, it's good. It's good to see.
And in terms of ABS Motorsport, as you say, you're involved with BTCC Racing. Where else can we find you?
Well, we're involved a little bit with some BMW Sprint Series. We do mini parts, which obviously is where we started with, but we do a lot of S2000 BTC spec, which is worldwide. So BMW, Alfa Romeo, yeah, it keeps us extremely busy. Yeah.
So Simon Ward will line up on pole position with Ian Bond thrown alongside, then Callum Potter and Scott Parkin, Simon Rudd and Liam McGill on row 3, Greg Saunders and Sean Reynolds on the 4th row of the grid, followed by Richard Avis, Callum Eason, Claire Avis and Abby Walton, Mark Geraghty and Jonathan Baker. Completing our lineup, here is the view from the number 10 car, a DNF in race number 1 for Jonathan. Second one of the season, but he's got 2 more races this weekend, including this one, race 2, lights out, we are away. Simon Rudd, nearest camera, right hand of the front row, and then alongside him Ian Bonthrown. It's Simon Ward that gets the best start from the front row. Watch for Callum Potter, who I think is challenging for 3rd place in black, in car with Callum, and he's passed by Scott Parkin. Bonthrone's got the lead on the inside of War. Parkin fights his way through on the inside too. Can the Aussie make it 3rd place? No, he can't, because Liam McGill is coming up on the inside as well. So the Aussie dropping back just a little bit. Sean Reynolds has had a good start in treble 7. Had 10th position in race number 1, and Reynolds has got this view of Potter and McGill side by side. McGill's got the inside into Park Corner, but it's Ian Bonthrown leading this one from Scott Parkin in P2. Parkin, remember, won the first 2 races of the year. As Potter runs a little bit wide, he'll be passed by Sean Reynolds as well in the treble 7. Oh, and by Simon Rudd, who's going to pass Reynolds at the same time. 2 places in 1 corner. Very rare that you see that anywhere, let alone Cadwell Park, but especially in very evenly matched machinery. So good stuff from Parkin, who is, beg your pardon, good stuff from Rudd, and indeed from Parkin earlier on. Jonathan Baker looking at the back of Richard Avis' car. Richard, who has, now, dare I say this, finished every race so far this year, and all of them inside the top 10. He won't thank me if that puts the kibosh on his efforts in this race, so we won't say any more about that. As Callum Potter continues to chase the treble 7 car of Sean Reynolds, and making the move there on Simon War was Simon Rudd, the defending champion. Let's see what Liam McGill can do about Simon War. Liam working hard here and will want to close down on both Scott Parkin and Simon Rudd at the head of the field. The leader, though, at the moment is Ian Bonthrown, looking for his first win in the championship. He's always finished inside the top 10. Simon War passed by McGill. Reynolds goes through. All good close racing. Remember, the top 6 places get reversed, and then 7th, 12th get reversed as well. Scott Parkin, little mistake there from Ian Bonthrown, gets it crossed up, and Scott Parkin's teeing up the inside run here as they go along Park Straight, uphill towards Park Corner. Again, you can see the curve heading around slightly to the left before they come into the right-hander. Some thumbs up gesticulation from the 2nd place man, who becomes the leader into Park and heading around into Chris Curve. So we've got a new leader now, looking for a 3rd win of the season to get back on terms, of course, with Liam McGill, who's got 3 wins to his credit. Scott Parkin, the man we're looking at, is on 2 wins. Has also not finished off the podium so far this year. Again, I apologise if that does any damage to his race results, but Parkin looking very neat and tidy at the moment on track. Look at lap times in this one, they're all in the 146s and 47s once again, so we may well see the lap record perhaps beaten again in this one, but a new lap record in race number 1 to Liam McGill. Superb sight these cars make as they climb up the mountain and still battling for position. Mark Geraghty just trying to suss out if he can find a way past Claire Avis. In car with Mark, starting off the back, DNF in race number 1. That means he's got all the work to do. The handy thing is, as I say, whatever progress he can make in this race will be rewarded with a grid position slightly further up than he had at the start of this one for race 3. We'll see how that pans out for you after the break. So Scott Parkin still the leader. Ian Bonthrown in second, followed by defending champion Simon Rudd in the GRD Lifts and Engineering car. Teeing up here for a move, I think. Moves over to the right. A speculative look to see if there's a gap. He's got momentum to fit into that gap and will go through into second place. Great stuff by Simon Rudd into P2. Ian Bonthrown down into third. Liam McGill closing in on them. In car with Ian Bonthrown in third place. Looking for his first podium in the championship is Ian at the moment, so if he can hold on to that, that would be good. But he's got Liam McGill closing up on him in the 62 car, so there's going to be a fight for third on in a minute, maybe a fight for the lead as well, because Simon Rudd is setting some decent lap times, closing in on round one double winner Scott Parkin, who continues to lead. There's Bonthrown in the ABS car, climbing up the mountain, a gap between the top four and fifth position, which is this group. Simon Waugh there at the moment, up ahead of Sean Reynolds. And it's Callum Potter. Richard Davis in the mix. The blue car making progress from the back of the field. It's number 10, that's Jonathan Baker, who non-finished. And a non-finisher in this one again, sadly, is Mark Geraghty, who goes into pit lane and, or I think back to the paddock actually, and out of the race. Second race on the bounce for him, as challenging for third on the outside as they go along the main straight. This is going to be outside on the left-hander into Coppice, and McGill gets there before they even get to the turn-in, I think. So McGill up into third place as Sean Reynolds challenges Simon Waugh. He's doing the opposite, going on the inside. A slightly easier job. Now, can Callum Potter follow through? Waugh, by staying wide, has at least got the defence on the way into Charlie's, which is the next corner before they head on the straight. You can see how long Charlie's is as a corner, the right-hander. And Simon Waugh in the safety devices car now going uphill along Park Straight, heading towards Park Corner. So this one, another fascinating race in the Focus Cup Championship. Waugh is now passed by Potter. Callum Potter through and into sixth position. He's pleased to pick up a trophy in race number one. And this is a battle for the lead, and Simon Rudd's got him. Simon Rudd goes through. So yet another different passing place here at Cadwell Park. And people do talk about the lack of overtaking, but we're seeing passes in several different places around the circuit, and that is testament to the driving standards here so far. Bear in mind, these are evenly matched cars. It's difficult enough when you've got multi-class racing, but we really are seeing a treat here at Cadwell. So hats off to all the drivers, and it is Simon Rudd looking for his first win of the season. This is only the third event of the year, but Rudd, who again, like the three drivers you're looking at in shot, the onboard and the two cars in front, Simon hasn't been off the podium so far this year. The only driver that has been off the podium is Liam McGill, fourth place in race two, and he's the championship leader. So here we go with McGill chasing hard. Now, how is the dynamic of this race going to change now? It's Rudd leading, Parkin in second, McGill in third. McGill's the chaser. One would think that McGill will put the pressure on Parkin, or will he work with Parkin to try and get past Simon Rudd, getting closer to Rudd? Well, he's not going to. He's going for that second place. McGill to the outside as they head down into Park Corner, side by side. Surely Parkin is going to hold on to second in the Powerflex car. He does. Still Simon Rudd, the race leader, as they head round into Chris Curve. The leader's starting to maybe build a little bit of a battle. McGill, I thought, was going to go for the cut back there, but of course, being a narrow track, there's actually very little room to pass on a cutback. So McGill has just got to try, and this is what you have to do at Cadwell, is try and force the car in front into a mistake to find the gap, or build up extra momentum somewhere and then pop the car alongside if the racing is fair and clean, as we've seen so far. Side by side for second place again. Is McGill going to get it? Still parking there at the moment as they start to head up. That's the shot we were waiting for as they climb up the mountain. Wonderful shot showing the gradient here. Super place to watch, fantastic place to drive. Now going through Hall Bends, past the clubhouse, down towards Old Hairpin, and then into Barn Corner, which is the last corner on that. This is Old Hairpin, heading down to Barn, where the race leader is about to enter, Simon Rudd. Wonderful racing here, and we continue to ride in car with Liam McGill, looking to make it 4 wins on the bounce, and he's doing what he did on the previous lap as they cross the line. It's going to be the outside run down into Coppice. He's got his nose in front. Is he going to be able to do it as we go into the turn-in? He does. Liam McGill up to second. Quick look back. Jonathan Baker from the back of the grid, making up a fair few places. Little problem there for Richard Avis, who runs a little bit wide. Jonathan Baker goes past him. Claire Avis is behind her husband at the moment. So the red car, it's husband leading wife at the moment, and Jonathan Baker is closing in and looking to get stuck in again. Sean Reynolds into the back of Callum Potter, and that throws him off. We've got a wide moment. That's Greg Saunders going bouncy over the grass, and that loses him a hat load of places, doesn't it? So Saunders in the Power Maxed car will rejoin. Let's see what happened. So Sean Reynolds here, passed by Callum Potter. Reynolds wants to come back at him, looks down the inside here, and then Potter comes across thinking that all is clear behind him. Little bit of contact. Reynolds doesn't keep his foot in. A lesser driver would have turned the lead car around, but he didn't there. Greg Saunders, that's a hefty whack on the bouncy grass and dirt here at Cadwell, rejoins. And Greg Saunders rejoining in 11th place. Jonathan Baker goes through shot in blue, and it's Richard Avis ahead of Claire Avis here. Claire having a good meeting. Looks at the inside run here, trying to get momentum coming through on the inside, and Claire makes up the position in the Swan Flight car. Lovely move there. As I say, we're seeing passing all around the track here, and you don't see that in too many other championships, particularly of a one-make nature, as up to the flag comes, for a first-time win, the defending champion Simon Rudd wins race 2 here at Cadwell Park from Liam McGill. Scott Parkin is in 3rd. Ian Bonthrope is 4th. This is going to be his best finish in the championship. The Scot takes 4th position, a great checker. The lead 4 clear of Callum Potter, who will finish in 5th position ahead of Jonathan Baker, who did a great drive. But Simon Rudd, remember, came through from 5th on the grid, the defending champion. That's why he won the championship last year. So a super performance for him. Simon Rudd, Liam McGill 2nd from Scott Parkin and Ian Bonthrope. Callum Potter 5th from Jonathan Baker and Claire Avis. Richard Avis in 8th from Simon Waugh. Sean Reynolds next from Greg Saunders and Abby Walton.
Simon, congratulations on your first victory of the season. What a tough race.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, I think. I thought I'd completely messed it up at the start, so I think I went from 2nd into 5th and lost 2 or 3 spaces before I even got to the first corner, so I just had to get my head down. I was a bit annoyed for myself, and yeah, I didn't think I'd have enough to win, but managed to catch the guys in front, make some moves, and I think Scott helped me out a little bit to stop Liam coming through.
Liam, congratulations on 2nd place. Lots of battles going on throughout the field there, and obviously for you, quite a number of overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, actually it made it a little bit more difficult for myself, because when I did pass a couple, they then repassed, so kind of scruffy first couple of laps, but once we got out there it was good, and then we had a good battle with Scott for some laps as well, which allowed Simon to get away. But anyway, it was good. It was good fun. Yeah.
Callum, at the start of race 2, we saw you come out of the holding area onto track and then just pull off on the formation lap. What happened?
So basically what happened was we joined the circuit, all of us all together, so we started round the back, so I had a bit of inner aggression anyway to try and come through and get me championship points. But on the warm-up lap, I swerved left, swerved right, and there was a bang underneath, which actually gave me no steering. But at the end of the day, all of these are race cars, they all handle different, and a few of them have got the problems, but at the end of the day, this championship is the best thing. Like, I've not seen a championship run like this, where you can turn up, drive it, go home. And I can't thank Rob and Rian and all that enough for just the work they're doing. Like, it's a race car, it's going to happen, so I've got to expect it to happen.
Well said, Callum. Absolutely spot on. Here's the grid then, again partially reversed. Jonathan Baker, after a DNF in race number 1 for race 3, is on pole for Richard Avis. Ian Bonthrope is on row 2 with Callum Potter. Callum completing his first meeting. The other Callum we just heard from, Callum Eason, starting at the back of the field and will be determined to come through and make some progress. So the blue car right of shot is Jonathan Baker. Away we go. Baker makes a good start up ahead of Richard Avis in red. Ian Bonthroyd slots into third. Fourth position and attacking the outside is championship leader Liam McGill. They are followed by Simon Rudd, who's having a pretty good day so far. Callum Eason has already made up one position from the back of the field. The 94 car, now no longer Abby Walton, it's Mark Geraghty. And Mark chasing Scott Parkin. That's the great thing again about this championship, is that you can change over as Callum Eason challenges Sean Reynolds, looks on the inside, and Reynolds and Eason onto the grass. Now, how's that played out? Have we got Eason still way over on the grass, so hopefully we'll be able to recover. What about Sean Reynolds? Will he get going again? Yes, he does. So Sean Reynolds recovers. Was it Callum said that's racing? That was about the misfortune on the park breakdown for the start. Meanwhile, back with Callum Potter chasing McGill, who's having a taste of deja vu here because he was chasing Ian Bonthroyd in the later stages of race 2. He has to do the whole thing again, and challenging this time, it's for second place. It is very cut and thrust, isn't it, in the lower reaches of the top 6 here as they go through Hall Bends for the first time. Scott Parkin following race 2 winner Simon Rudd. So 3 different race winners now at 3 different meetings, and Rudd with 1 win, Parkin with 2, and of course McGill, the championship leader, with 3. McGill also has 2 pole positions, which counts as effectively as a race win points wise. The other pole position going to Scott Parkin in round 1 of the year at Donington Park. This is the view from McGill. He's not having it as easy to get past Ian Bonthroyd, who gets a little bit of opposite lock on there. That will scrub some speed off, and McGill is trying to get through. Bonthroyd goes on the grass, and McGill, remember, he'll take a gap if it's there, but you need to bring the car home to the finish, and he's mindful of that. There was room there, and McGill is through and into second. Well, McGill, having got up into second, now challenging Jonathan Baker for the race lead. Let's see whether he can do it. He's not been afraid to overtake here at Cadwell, and he's side by side. He's going to have the line as they go into Park Corner, so goes through. Meanwhile, a change for third because Simon Rudd's coming through. And Rudd, we look for him. No, he hasn't. He was challenging, but Ian Bonthroyd was putting up a good defence there. Jonathan Baker is now second, Bonthroyd third, and Simon Rudd in 4th place. There go the top 4. A little bit of a gap back to Scott Parkin in 5th position, then Callum Potter, who would be most welcome to come back and have another go. He's been very quick. Imagine what he'd be like if he had more time in the car and perhaps joined us for later rounds. Incidentally, later round, the next round is Snetterton on the 18th of June. Alton Park next up, doubleheader at Croft, and we wind up with another doubleheader at Brands Hatch. So some real premium circuits, some great racing to be had through to the end of the racing season. Potter chasing Scott Parkin. Remember, Parkin front runner last year in the championship and indeed second this year. So the young Aussie has joined well. A little bit of contact there between Bonthroyd and Jonathan Baker, who was leading the race until Liam McGill managed to get past. Now, there was a yellow flag there. I thought for a minute the whole field was going to slow up, and in fact they did through the yellow flag zone, and that was because of the contact, I think, between those 2 cars, because it's such a tight circuit. And absolute top dollar to the marshals for reacting quickly there to ride on board. Now Baker has been passed by Callum Eason, so Bonthroyd goes through in 2nd position. 3rd place is Scott Parkin. 4th is Simon Rudd, followed by Mark Geraghty. And here's a replay. Jonathan Baker, now watching the mirror, Ian Bonthroyd was challenging him for 2nd and tapped him on the rear end. The waved yellows were out very, very quickly indeed. And I've got to say that the field slowed down very quickly indeed as well. Here it is from Ian's point of view. Just a tap on the back. He's going to be the first one over to apologise to Jonathan, I'm sure, for that. You see there's a line of oil on the inside as Liam McGill will continue in lead position, and he's going to be a difficult man to beat. Now we've gone from McGill to Bonthroyd in 2nd place, and Simon Rudd smells blood here, looks down on the inside run, gets 2nd position from Ian Bonthroyd, who's down to 3rd. Scott Parkin in the 13 we're on board with, and there's a little bit of a queue now forming. This is all for second place. Simon Rudd will want to try and hunt down Liam McGill, who did again get fastest lap in the second race, so 146.9, 146.828 is that record from race 1. And the times are a little bit slower again, as is the norm in this championship, you have to say. Last year's race is won by Simon Rudd and Andrew Perry, by the way, which I don't think I covered off. So Simon Rudd becomes the first double winner at Cadwell Park in Focus Cup, but I think Liam McGill might equal that here. Rudd, the first driver to win on both visits, on 2 different visits here, if we're looking at the early statistics from Cadwell Park for the Focus Cup Championship, which I like to have a look at. And here is our race leader, who again is pulling away because there is a big fight going on for, well, no, not for second position, a battle going on for third. Simon Rudd's consolidated second. Ian Bond thrown under pressure from Scott Parkin, who now goes alongside. And again, I think we're going to get thumbs up again. That was similar to what we saw in one of the earlier races. And Bond thrown, I wouldn't say letting him through, but giving room and respectful racing. Everybody wants to bring the car home in one piece and go to work after the weekend's racing. Mark Geraghty here has been a little bit of a star. He's in front of us. We're in car with Callum Potter, and Geraghty has come right the way through from the back. We know that he is a star turn, Mark Geraghty, and in Abby Walton's car, and getting some decent race mileage and hopefully on for a decent position here. He's fought his way up from the back and has passed Callum Potter as the race leader heads up towards the mountain once again. Callum Potter following Mark Geraghty will learn a lot from watching the former mini champion. In fact, he's under pressure, isn't he, from the Aussie? So it's 2 Scots and an Aussie climbing up the mountain at the moment. There's probably a joke in there somewhere. Scott Parkin, the Englishman, is ahead. Simon Rudd ahead of them, and Liam McGill, the Scotsman, the race leader in the 62 car at the moment, looking to consolidate that championship lead, build on it even. Effectively, if he maintains this, will come away with 3 wins this weekend, because, as we've said, qualifying counts as a win in race 1 and win in race 3 as well. And to take a win in a reverse grid race is no mean feat. Callum Eason making good progress as well, chasing Claire Avis at the moment. Claire and Richard, who've had a very competitive weekend between them. Sean Reynolds back on track and chasing Callum Eason. Jonathan Baker in behind. Feel strongly for Jonathan, because he was, I think, would have been a definite contender for a podium, if not the win, in this race off the front. Whether he'd have matched Liam McGill, Simon Rudd and Scott Parkin is academic now. It's not going to happen, but it would have been fascinating to see them fight it out at the front. Richard Davis runs a little bit wide there, as indeed does the 26 car of Callum Eason. Down the hill they go again. There is Richard Davis in the 25 ahead of Claire this time. We've got the track, it is a track limits warning going out, and we're hearing Callum Potter and Callum Eason maybe just exploring track limits a little bit too far. Many of the clerks will say, yeah, you have to a couple of times. If you don't do it a couple of times, you're not trying. But the trick is to rein it in once you've done it a couple of times and then keep it on track. It's a very, very dark art, track limits, if you're exploiting it to the full, as we watch Sean Reynolds trying to close in after his moment on the grass. There is Richard Avis, head of Claire. Callum Eason is next up. Claire Avis in the swanflight.com car ahead of the WDE recruitment car. Now remember, WDE are a very noted motorsport team in their own right, and for Callum Eason to come and race in this championship when the family team could prepare their own car in a different championship says bucket loads about this championship, which is arrive and drive. It really does. So heading up towards the mountain they go again, and Callum looking to try and make more space. It's been a tiring weekend for many of these drivers. You can see Jonathan Baker trying hard to close in on Sean Reynolds, who has a massive whippy moment now, and the number 10 car's going to go through and pass Sean Reynolds. Baker read that well. He held back while the 777 car was getting all a rise, going on the grass again, and Baker makes it through. And again, a new place to see passing. Claire Avis is having a go here and putting the pressure on the Mintex car of her husband. Oh, loses out there. Callum Eason goes past. Just lost a little bit of momentum. Do you know what? I honestly can tell you, as the leader goes on to the last, I have not seen as much overtaking on so many different points of the circuit here at Cadwell as I have this weekend with the Focus Cup Championship. It's been a very, very good display from all the drivers, especially this man here, Liam McGill, the championship leader, who is well clear again and some 9 seconds clear of Simon Rudd in second. The others must be wondering what they can do to catch up with him. So McGill the leader, Rudd in second, Jonathan Baker busy trying to pass Claire Avis for, on the timing screens, 8th position, because a couple of penalties have been issued as Callum Eason nips past Richard Avis to go into 7th on the road, but has got this penalty hanging over him for exceeding track limits, as has Callum Potter, who is ahead of this group. Sean Reynolds getting back into the thick of it and trying to pass Jonathan Baker, but ends up on the grass for his troubles, loses momentum, and again the car being punished by going over the grass on this last tour of our third race of the day here at Cadwell Park. It's been a super day's racing. Jonathan Baker busy chasing Claire Avis, so this is going to be disappointing for Baker. He'll be happy to get it home to the finish, but we'll be left wondering what could have been at the sharp end of things at the start. Meanwhile, it is 2 out of 3 for Liam McGill here at Cadwell Park. The championship leader bags another win in the championship. Scott Parkin will take 3rd place. There is the 2nd place man, Simon Rudd. Rudd 2nd, Scott Parkin in 3rd. Ian Bonthorne backs up 4th in race 2, with 4th in race 3 ahead of Mark Geraghty, an excellent 5th from the back. 6th place goes to Callum Potter. Jonathan Baker still fighting. This is for 8th and 9th on the road, and looks pretty much settled now, so Claire Avis will follow her husband Richard across the line. There is Richard in the red and black car, Claire in the yellow, black and white car across the line, but it's Liam McGill who will head to Snetterton with the championship lead intact in the AST 62 car from Simon Rudd and Scott Parkin. I think Scott may just about hold on to 2nd position in the championship standings, but we'll get confirmation for you of that after we have spoken to our race winners who head into Parc Fermé. McGill the winner and fastest lap again. Simon Rudd 2nd from Scott Parkin and Ian Bonthorne. Mark Geraghty up into 5th from Callum Potter and Richard Avis. Claire Avis next up from Jonathan Baker. Sean Reynolds, Callum Eason and Greg Saunders completing the finishers.
Liam, 2 out of 3 this weekend. That's not bad, is it?
Yeah, that was really good. We just had to try and really push a good bit harder at the start there. The last race I was kind of caught napping a little bit, so I was a wee bit more up for it this time, and we just managed to make up the positions quite early on. Then the front 2 guys, it was quite hard to get past Ian, but eventually I managed to get past them in the end. So yeah, that was good. Once you get out in front, you've got a bit of kind of time to focus on just trying to bang the laps in. So yeah, it was good.
Scott, another 3rd place, but I tell you something, that was a cracking race out there.
Yeah, it was chaos. That's the only way to describe it. I think, there were people off the track, spinning, everything. Which is what happens when you mix the grid up like they've done, and you predicted it in the last interview that it would be interesting, and it certainly worked out that way. I think it would have been nice to have us guys who've been sort of getting up there further back. I think that would have made a much more interesting race, letting the guys battle at the front and us having to sort of pick through the less experienced drivers. That would have been pretty fun, I think. But instead, it made a pretty good show for everybody.
Ian, your 2nd amateur trophy of the weekend. It's not bad to come away with a bit of silver. Where is it?
Yeah, it was a closer race that time, which was quite nice. I made a couple of whoopsies which see me dropping back and allowed others to catch up, but luckily we made it away again and sat quite close to Scott Parkin. I haven't seen the timing sheets, I don't know what the actual gap is, but it was relatively close to a podium. But that was good fun. I love this track. I'll be coming back here for sure in some capacity because it's great. But it was a good day all round pretty much.
Liam McGill continues to lead the championship with just 5 points between 2nd and 3rd. Scott Parkin still there from Simon Rudd. Richard Avis maintains 4th ahead of Callum Eason and Mark Geraghty. The winners celebrate. We look forward to your company again next time at Snetterton.